Okay. So hopefully this is recording. Okay, so we're going to talk about the mean, the median, and the mode. Okay, so really quickly, the mean is what we would commonly think of as the average. Okay, now I don't like the word average, and you're going to see why here in a minute. But basically, the brief definition is add them up, and divide by the number of items. Okay, it's what you guys are used to. You've done this ever since elementary school. We're going to call this the mean as opposed to the average, and you'll see why in just a minute here. The median is what we refer to as the middle value. Okay, the middle value is given by the formula n plus 1 divided by 2. Now, it's going to be a little different. Maybe I'll put that on here. Different based on odd versus even. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. The mode is what we would refer to as the most common value. Okay? All three of these terms can be thought of as an average. And so let's do a little example here. Let's say that the University of North Carolina geography majors, I can't type here. They wanted to know the salaries for their geography majors so they could publish it, okay? So the first salary was $34,000. The second one was $38,000. The third one was $32,000. The fourth one was $32,000. And the fifth one was a mere $10 million. And that's not a typo. Okay, that's a famous person. Let me just ask you, this is always fun to do. Let me ask you if you know any famous geography majors from the University of North Carolina, very famous person. He didn't make his money in geography, by the way. He played basketball. Michael Jordan, okay? Okay, so in the past, basically what we would do is we would find the mean, okay? The mean in this case would be, I'm going to press the equals. I always like to leave a space, by the way. I should tell you that. A lot of times if you put the mean on the next line, you screws up your calculations later. So get in the practice of when you're doing any totals, always put a blank line in between. It's a good habit. So I'm going to do the sum equals SUM parentheses, and then I can use my mouse here and I can highlight that data. And then I'm going to divide by, in this case, how many people do we have? 5 people. Yeah, that's not the best place to sit. I don't know if you want to sit here or there, but yeah. Okay. Usually the front's good and the front and the middle is good, but the front on the sides is not a good place to sit because you either can't see the board or you can't see that. Okay, so as we look at this, the mean salary is a mere $2 million a year. Okay, so let me ask you all a question. If you could make $2 million a year studying geography, how many of you would change your major today? I would, okay? Now the question is, that's what we commonly refer to as the average, right? That's what you've always learned, okay? Do you think that $2 million a year is representative of how much you would actually make as a geography major? Are you Emily?
Yes.
Oh, I got it right this time. Okay.
Sorry, just real quick. How did you find the mean? What did you do?
So I highlighted equals the sum. SUM is sum. And then I used my mouse and I highlighted all this here. And I closed my parenthesis and then I hit slash for divide and then 5. Okay. So that's $2 million. Okay, so my question to you is, do you think $2 million is representative of what the average, quote unquote, average geography major would make? Now, so one of the problems with the mean is it's highly influenced by outliers. Now, we will talk later today on how you can really determine what's an outlier, but for the moment, I think it's pretty clear to say, yeah, Michael Jordan's an outlier. Wouldn't you agree? Okay, so we'll talk more about that. So a different way of figuring the quote-unquote average is to find the median. Okay, now one of the things is the median, I guess it's good I'm using two colors, requires to sort your data. Okay, so here's how you would sort your data here. Okay, so I'm just going to click in this column. I'm going to go over here to sort and filter, and I'm going to sort smallest to largest. Okay, I could do it largest to smallest, but I usually go smallest to largest. Now, let me just warn you, later on in the semester, the sorting data could get you in trouble, but for today it's okay. Okay, so just be careful about sorting your data. But basically, so I've sorted my data, and as I mentioned before, it's the middle value. Okay, so how do you find the middle value? So the formula that we use is n plus 1 divided by 2. So simply said, I've got 5 data points. So 5 is my n. 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So all I do is I start at the beginning and I count down 1, 2, 3. That becomes my median, which is $34,000. Okay. Now, as you look at this, I'm going to put some commas in there. As you look at this, which value seems more representative of the quote-unquote average salary that you should be able to expect? Is it the $2 million or is it the $34,000? $34,000. Okay, so this one is what we would say resistant to outliers. Okay, so the median seems like a better option here. Now the mode is what we would refer to as the most common value. Okay, so let's talk about the mode. What is the most common value in this data set? $32,000. Okay, so you could make a case, well look, 40% of the people earn $32,000. That's the true average, right? So once again, I'm going to cross out this word. Where'd my red pen go? And I'm going to tell you I don't like that word, average. I don't want you to use it. Pretend it's a swear word. I want to know, is it the mean? Is it the median? Is it the mode? Okay, now let's throw a few little wrinkles into here. Okay, let's pretend I added a fourth person in here. I'm going to insert it in here so it's sorted here. The fourth, or the sixth person rather, the sixth person makes $42,000 a year. Okay, now my formula is not right anymore because I was dividing by 5, right? Okay, now this is where I want to curse Bill Gates. Okay, if you were to come up with a command to find the median, excuse me, the mean, what command do you think you would use? Use that swear word I just told you not to use anymore. Equals average. Curse Bill Gates. He doesn't know any better. He's not a statistician, okay? So if I do this, it'll automatically, instead of dividing by 5, it'll divide by 6, okay? So that's a command you can use, which now drops the mean salary from $2 million to $1.7 million a year. Is there a question?
Did you add a value?
I added a value of 42,000 in there, yes.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to add a value, if you click on, say, line 6, you can right click and then insert, and then you can type in there, okay? How do I do the what?
The things that move, the blue.
The things that move. Oh, okay, yeah, so let's do that again. Okay, so do one more time. So equals, and then I remember that the word is average, okay? So, and then I close, I open, hit my parenthesis, and then I can highlight with my mouse the range that I want. So in this case, B2 to B7, okay? And then I should close my parentheses. Sometimes Excel's nice and doesn't mind, okay? So here's the deal on this stuff. I know I'm showing this to you on the computer. I want you to be able to do this either with your calculator or the computer. Okay? So, yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the median now. Okay? Now, the median, the problem is I've got an even number of data points. So 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. I don't know about you, but I can't count to 3.5. Okay? So when you have an even number, here's what you need to do. Since this is still sorted, I'm going to go between 3 and 4. So 1, 2, 3.5. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the mean of those two values. So in this case, the median, you can probably do that one in your head. What is the median? I'm going to pick on Jill because I remember your name. It's what? The median is 36,000, okay? 36,000, okay? So it's slightly different depending on whether you have an odd or an even number. Okay, does that make sense? All right, the mode, what is the mode in this case? What'd you say? It was Elizabeth. Oh, good, I got it. Elizabeth still said 32,000, okay? Now, let me add another thing here. You can have no mode, you can have one mode, or you can have more than one mode. Okay, let's add another one in here for just a minute. We're going to insert a line. So if you're on line 7, if I right click on the 7 itself and then I say insert, I can go here, let's say $42,000. Okay, now that I have this here, what do you think the mode is in this case? I'm going to pick on you. 32,000 and 42,000. What's your name? Jordan. Thank you. Okay, so I've got two modes. Yes. Well, here I'm going to show you right now. Okay, now I've got 7 here, right? 7's an odd number. 7 plus 1 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4. What's my median now? It is now 38,000. So
when you added before you added that extra 42,000, what was
it was 36,000. Because, okay, so let's see here. We're going to back up here. I didn't think I was going that fast, but here we go. So this is how it looked before. Okay. So remember, when I only had 6 data pieces, notice that says 7. Don't get that confused. I've only got 6 because the first line doesn't count. 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So I'm going to count to 3.5. 1, 2, 3.5. And I take the mean of those two middle values. And so that's how I got 36,000. Okay. Now, if you want to repeat something, so if you press Control Y, that redoes what you had there before. Okay. Now, my question to you all is, do you think that this computer is smart enough to figure the median out itself? The median. Yeah. If you were Bill Gates and you wanted to come up with a command for the median, what command would you use? Equals median. That's a great idea. That'll work. Okay. All right. So if I do median and then I highlight with my mouse that data there, it will give me the correct answer. Now, so to find the mean, you can use the command average. Curse Bill Gates when you do it. To find the median, it's median. There is a command for the mode, but the problem is it's very complicated, and especially in a case like this where I have more than one mode, it's more complicated than I want to teach you guys. So I'd rather you did that one manually. So here's the rule, okay? You need to know how to find the mean and the median and the mode, both by hand and with the computer, and in the case of the mode, just do it by hand, okay? I'm not going to give you a ton of stuff, okay? Does that make sense? All right. Okay, so All right, now that we have that out of the way, let's go ahead. If you open up your Canvas to, go ahead and open up Canvas here. I've got a worksheet for you guys and we'll work through this. Okay, erase this. Oh, I hate this thing. I'm glad we're secure, but gosh, it's annoying. And then it won't come. Okay, so if you go to Stats 1040, and then you go to Assignments, and then you go all the way to the bottom, we've got in-class worksheets. I'm gonna keep adding to this, but right now I've got a worksheet 5 quartiles. I want you to open that. Okay. All right, go ahead and enable editing. All right, so we've got a random sample of 18 collision coverage claims. Now, since we've talked a little bit about median, we'll keep talking about order statistics, which means you need to sort your data from low to high. We're also going to have what's called the 5-number summary. Okay, the 5-number summary consists of 5 numbers: the minimum, the maximum, the median, and then what we call Q1 and Q3, which stands for quartile 1, and Q3 stands for quartile 3. Median actually stands for quartile 2, but I like median better, okay? Minimum, maximum, those are obvious, okay? So the idea here is, with your 5-number summary, between your minimum and Q1, you've got 25% of your data, okay? Between Q1 and the median, which is Q2, you also have 25% of your data. Between the median and Q3, you've got 25% of your data, and I'll bet you can figure out the last one. Don't all speak at once. 25% of your data. Okay? All right, so the idea here is I need to sort my data. Do you guys remember how to sort? So you can highlight your data here. I'm gonna pick on Sarah, because I remember your name. Do you remember how to sort?
Yeah, you highlight them, then you go over to sort.
Sort and filter,
And what do you
smallest to largest. Generally, you're gonna do it that way. You could do it the other way, but generally that way, okay? All right, so I've got my data sorted. Now, I'm gonna show you how to do this by hand as well as by the computer, and it's gonna be a slightly different procedure. I will warn you, I'm gonna show you this for sake of clarity. I'm gonna update the notes after class, and I'll probably have a slightly different procedure, but this is what I want to do in class. Yes?
How did you say you got to the sort? Sort the data?
So you highlighted your data, you go to sort and filter, and then smallest to largest. Okay? All right. Now, I'll bet you can find the minimum and the maximum super easily. I'm gonna pick on, is it Takumi? No, it's not. What's your name? Steven? Oh, that was close. Oh, that's Takumi. Okay, sorry. Steven Takumi, you know. All right, Steven, can you tell me the minimum? The minimum is 180. Can you tell me the maximum? Okay, those were too easy. Can you tell me how to find the median by hand? Since those were two easy questions. The median, how do you find it? The middle value. So 18 plus 1 is 19. We like the odd number, right? 19 divided by 2 is 9.5. 9.5. So we're going to count to 9.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.5. And so our median is in between those two values here. I'm going to highlight those two values here. So my median would be the middle of those two, which is going to be equals the median of these two. Okay? No, it's not. It's the it's the mean average. Sorry. It's the mean of those two values. You could probably type the median and it would have worked. Okay? 1802. Okay, so what this means is half of your collision claims are less than 1802, half are greater than 1802. Okay, does that make sense?
Did you just find it by hand?
I did it by hand.
Okay.
Okay, divided it by 2. Okay, all right, now, so minimum, maximum, median, we've done those. Now you can think of quartile 1 as the median of the top half of the data set. Okay, now this is where, so I want to teach you this today. If you're doing this by hand, this is going to be a slightly different procedure than I might post later, but conceptually you can think of this as the median of the top half. So conceptually, the question is, we like odd numbers better than even, right? Okay, so what you want to do is, the question is, do I want to include the median or not? Okay, now I think I mentioned here, if I include this top half here, down here you see here the count is 9. That's a nice odd number, right? 9 plus 1 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So I'm going to count down to the fifth one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That just became quartile 1, or Q1. Now I'm going to do the same thing here on the bottom half. I'm going to count from here down, because this is 9, right? 9 there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is going to be quartile 3. Okay? All right, now this is if you're doing it by hand. Okay? So your 5-number summary, you should write it in order. Right in order. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is I've got your, here's what I'm going to do. So this is by hand, 5-number summary, and I've got minimum, Q1, median, Q3, and maximum. So your minimum's 180, 735, 1802, 4668, and 21147. Okay, now let's do this by the computer. Okay, the computer is going to use a slightly different method, but let's think about this for a minute. If you were Bill Gates and you could come up with any command you wanted to find the minimum, what command would you use? Equals min. How about that? Okay, and now I'm just going to highlight my data. And, oops, I put that in the wrong spot, but that worked out well. Okay, if you were Bill Gates and you wanted to do the command for the maximum, what command would you use? Equals max. Okay. What command would you use for the median? Equals median, not mean, but median. Okay, there is no mean command, by the way. I wish there was. Okay, so far so good. Now here's where we're going to notice a difference. If I calculate this by hand, if I calculate it by the computer is going to use a different method than I just showed you. If you were going to come up with the first quartile, what command do you think you would use? Equals quartile. Now there's a bunch of different ones here. Okay, now as we look at this, EXC says exclude the median, INC says include the median. This one doesn't specify, but it's actually include the median. Okay, this is the one that I'm going to I want you guys to use is this one, the bottom one here. Okay, so that's the one we're going to use. So I'm going to use this one. It's a little bit easier to use. Now it's asking you for an array. Okay, that's a computer programming term. Array means data, basically. So I want you to put the data in here. So I'm going to highlight your data just like this, okay? And then you need to press a comma, and watch what happens when you press that comma. It's going to, you could actually use this for all 5 numbers. Do you want the minimum, the first quartile, the median, the third quartile, or the maximum? So that's kind of cool. In our case, we want what? We want the first quartile, so I'm going to put a 1 there. And I'm going to close this, and notice that's a different value than we found by hand. Okay, they use a different procedure. This is probably more correct, but I was trying to keep this easy for you as we were doing this. The nothing, the bottom one, okay? All right, we're gonna do that again. Now, by the way, let me show you something. This is a mistake that students will make, okay? So this is a gotcha. I liked that command so much, I'm gonna copy it, okay? Control C to copy, and then Control V to paste. Now, why did I not get the same number? Shouldn't I have gotten the same number? Okay, here's why I didn't get the same number. Watch this. When I edit this command, look what it has highlighted. It missed the first 2 data points, and it added 2 blanks on the bottom. Why is that? This is an Excel thing because I didn't put $ in there. Remember, these are relative references, so it's going to go, because I'm down 2, it's going to go down 2. If back here, if I had put an F4 here and an F4 here, and then when I copied it and pasted it, I would have gotten the same value. Okay? So that you need to be a little bit careful on. Now, the thing that I'm going to do here, and I don't want the first quartile anymore. I want to change that 1 to a 3. I want the third quartile. Now, before we got 4668, now we've got 4366.25. So these numbers are different. So depending on the method that you use, here's how it's going to be. If I give you a quiz on Thursday, it's not going to be on the computer. It's going to be by hand. And I want you to use this method. If I give you a test and you have data just like here, I want you to use the computer method. So you need to know both methods. How did I change what? How did I change Q3? Okay, so basically I copied this and I changed, there was a 1 there, I changed that to a 3. Okay, so as far as the F4 goes, okay, remember here I didn't have the F4 here. Okay, that's a relative reference. Now, if I highlight this whole thing, that's an absolute reference. Okay, I want that. I want the range not to change. Now, there was a question over here, and I ignored you, and I didn't mean to. Go ahead. You don't know how to get the first quartile?
Do that, right? And then I click it. Oh.
Yeah, it worked. Okay. All right. There was another question over here. Did you put an equals? So equals quartile. Click, double click it with your mouse. And now highlight this. Okay, comma, and then 1. Okay, yes.
So I'm kind of confused on how to get Q1 and Q3 by hand.
Okay, by hand, you just find the median of the top half and the median of the bottom half.
Oh, okay.
You basically divide it in half. Okay? All right, any other questions? Yes. The median one more time. Type median, not mean. ED, double click it.
Double click at this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now highlight your data. All right. Okay, the question was, do you only hit, so here's the tricky part. I know you guys like this recipe for F4. When do you use it, when do you not? You want to use an absolute reference when you want the cell not to change. So that's going to, on every situation, you're going to have to determine, do I want an F4 or do I not? So I don't have a nice, good rule. You just got to understand it really well. Okay? So notice here, so before, when I did this, I'm going to take out the $ here. Okay? Before, when I did this, okay, so I've got 751. So just when you're doing the 5-number summary, if I copy this and if I paste it and if I get a value that's different, that's a problem. Okay, so now I need to go in here. What I can do is see what happened was I used relative references, so it skipped the first 2 and I added 2 blanks at the bottom. Now, if I want to, I can go through and I can manually just change this here. I'll highlight my data here and I'll just change it here and it will work correctly. Or if I had done the F4 in the first place, okay, and if I copy that and I paste it, it should be exactly the same. And now I just need to change that 1 to a 3 because I want the 3rd quartile. Okay? So you really have to understand what you're doing. Okay? You can't just memorize a bunch of steps. You've really got to understand this. Okay? Now, the question is, now, do I have outliers? Oh, shoot. Only got 10 minutes. Okay, we're going to have to hustle through this. Okay? Do I have outliers? Now, I've used this data set before, and I know that we do, so we're going to find out how, okay? Here's how you find this, okay? So you need to find the lower fence and the upper fence. Okay, the lower fence is, oh, by the way, let me back up here. I need to find the IQR. That stands for interquartile range. The IQR is Q3 minus Q1. Interquartile range. Now, if Q3 to Q1, what percent of data should I have in the interquartile range? %50% my data. So the idea here is, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find my lower fence. My lower fence is going to be Q1 minus, now, how much data should I have between Q1 and the minimum? I should have 25% of my data. I'm going to double that just to be super safe. And I'm going to say 1.5 times my IQR, okay? If I find a value that's lower than that, that's an outlier. On the upper fence, it's going to be Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR, 1.5 times the interquartile range, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. My interquartile range is going to be Q3 minus Q1, okay? Now, because I'm using different values here, my interquartile range is going to be different for both of those. One's 39.33, the other one's 36.14. Now, I'm going to multiply that times 1.5. Okay, now there should only be 25%, but I'm gonna double it and say 50%. Okay, so if I take this number and I multiply it times 1.5, that gives me these two values here. Now I'm gonna find my lower fence and my upper fence. Okay, and I know I'm going fast, but you guys are slowing me down on that. We're gonna run out of time here and they're gonna kick us out. Okay, so, and plus you can watch this again, hopefully, if my video works. So it's Q1 minus 1.5 times my IQR, okay? Now, these are insurance collision claims. What I'm saying is anything lower than negative $5,000 is an outlier. Now, that doesn't even make sense that to have a, you have a wreck and the car company, you owe them money, they're supposed to pay you money, right? That's not how it works, okay? So this number on the lower end, so I'm saying that anything lower than either $4,000 or $5,000 is an outlier. Do I have anything lower than negative $5,000 here? No, okay? So this does not really apply. But on the upper side, I'm going to take Q3 plus 1.5 times the interquartile range, okay? So this is, let's see here. So depending on which method I'm doing here, if I did this by hand, I'm saying that anything greater than 10,567, do I have anything that's greater than 10,567? Yes, my maximum is, so what I'm saying here is this is an outlier. So this $20,000 car fix, that's an outlier. Now, look at this one. If I do this by computer, I'm gonna highlight this in blue. Okay, this says anything greater than 9788 is an outlier. Do I have any more outliers here? Okay, so this one is also now an outlier. So because my interquartile range is different, that affects these outliers. So in this case, I have one outlier, which is the 21,147. In this case, I've got two outliers, which is the 10, 34, and the 21,147. I think I stuck too many zeros in there. So I've got two outliers.
Isn't it 9908 as well?
Oh, you're right. Very good eyes. So now actually we've got three. Okay, so this one has three, 9908. So thank you. Tell me your name. Ashley, you need to study with her. She's paying attention. Okay. All right. So I've got three outliers when I did this by computer. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to teach you is what's called the box and whisker diagram. Now, we've got to hurry because they're probably going to start kicking us out here in a minute. The box and whisker diagram is basically the 5-number summary. However, I want you to use the fences if they are needed. Okay? And so here's what I mean by that. Now, here's another thing. I want you to do this. Okay? I'm going to show you a special way. Excel doesn't, the old version of Excel that I have on my laptop that I'm going to grade your tests on does not have a box and whisker maker. So we're going to do a modified stock plot. Okay? In order to do this, this is what you need to memorize. You need to memorize in this order: date, open, high, low, close. Okay? You need to remember those. Okay, for your date, you have to pick a date. You can pick any date that you want, but pick consecutive days. Let's pick January 1st and January 2nd, just for fun. Okay? This is really important. This is really finicky, and if you do this wrong, it's going to yell at you. Okay? Now, the high, I want you to either use the maximum or the, here, I'm not going to do that first. Let's do the low. I want you to either use the low or the minimum. Do we have any outliers on the low side? No. So in this case, I'm going to use the minimum, which is 180 and 180. Okay. On the high side, do I have outliers? Yes. On the high side, I want you to use the upper fence, because in this case, for the computer, it's 9788. For the by hand, it's 10,567. Okay. Now your open, that's going to be your Q1. Okay. So this is going to be Q1. So this is going to be the 751, or it's going to be the 735, depending on which data set I'm using. Okay. For the close, I'm going to use the Q3, which is the 4366 or the 4668. Okay? Now you're definitely going to want to practice this over the next few days, because this can be really confusing. Now here's the problem. What's missing from my 5-number summary? Bueller? What? I'm missing the median, right? The median's not in there, okay? Here's what we're gonna have to draw the median in manually. Now here's the deal. I'm gonna insert, so I'm gonna highlight my data just like this. I'm gonna say insert. Then I'm gonna go to this one with the spider web on it. And I'm gonna go to more charts, and I'm gonna go to scatter plot. No, I'm not. I'm gonna go to stock market. That's the one I want. And I want the second one here. Now, if you don't remember this, remember I told you had to memorize this? It does say open, high, low, close. It does not say the word date. The word date must be there, or you cannot press the OK button. Okay? So you've definitely got to remember the word date, and it has to be a date. Okay? Now, once I do that, this is what we call a box and whisker diagram. Now, this is not actually a stock chart. So I don't need this legend down here that says open, high, low, close. I want you to delete that, okay? But I would like access titles, okay? Let's pretend that, so this is, let's pretend these are two insurance companies. This is insurance companies. And this one here is what we call State Farm. And this one's called Farmers, or what's another insurance company? Allstate. Okay. Over here, I've got cost of claims. Is nobody kicking us out? We might get this. If nobody kicks us out, we're staying. This here is going to be called comparing insurance claims, okay, or something like that. All right, so now I need to draw in here my median. So the median in both cases is 1802. Now, you're just going to have to eyeball this the best you can. Now, by the way, I also need to worry about my outliers. Now, notice here, in both cases, I've got 21,000. What does my scale only go to? It only goes to 12,000. So I need to change my scale so that I can put those outliers on there. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to format my axis. And I'm going to change my maximum to 20,000. That's probably good enough. Okay. And hopefully, where's my OK button? Maybe I'll just press enter. Okay. So that changed my scale. Okay. Now, here's what I'm going to need to do. I need to draw in my line. So if you go here so make sure that you have this selected. If you don't, it's not the end of the world, but it makes your life a lot easier. So now I need to draw a line. So insert a picture. Oh, actually, this one here. This one here that says shapes. Okay, I want to pick a line, and you're just going to have to eyeball this the best you can, about 1802. It's about right there. Okay. Now I'm going to draw another line. I'm going to click on this line again, and I'm going to draw this one here. Okay. Try to make it as straight as you can, but I'm not going to kill you on that. Okay. All right. Now we need to add our outliers. To do the outliers, click on the circle, okay? Now, I can't remember which one was which. I think the computer one was, yeah, this one's got the shorter whisker. So you can see barely this whisker is slightly shorter than this whisker, okay? So this is why they call it a box and a whisker diagram. So you can see here, the lower whisker is much shorter than the top whisker. So this apparently looks like skewed data. Okay, now, so the shorter whisker has 3 outliers. So there's an outlier at about 9908, so about right here. Now I'm going to pick another circle, and there's one at 10,034, so I'll put it about right on top of each other. Oop, that was way big. Resize it. And then I've got another one at 21,147, which is about right here. Over here, I've got one outlier, also 21,147. So pretend these are 2 different insurance companies. In reality, it was just me showing you how to do it 2 different ways. But does that make sense? No? Well, nobody's kicking us out. Is anybody out there? We can keep staying here. We do need to take time for our quiz. How much time do you want for your quiz? Uh-huh. Well, I'm going to put this video out so you can watch this again. Okay? I will post this. Have you looked at it already? I'm going to try to. I need to supplement it, but yeah, all the equations on here are good. So let me just say this, okay? As far as the test goes, we're probably about a week and a half away from the test. We'll probably have a test next week. So my current plan is we're going to do chapter 6 Thursday. We'll have a review on Tuesday. We'll have the test in our regular classroom building on Thursday. We might meet there next week. I got to think about that. But at any rate, we'll have a review day, okay? In class, we will have a written test, and then I will put the computer part in the testing center so you can take as long as you want in there. Spend 8 hours in there, I don't care, okay? Get your money's worth. But you can spend your time in there doing the test. So we'll review all that basically Tuesday. Okay. So I will give you some homework questions to create box and whisker diagrams and that sort of a thing with outliers and how to create this. Okay. All right. I think, let me make sure that, I think that's all I wanted to cover. So everything is there. I've covered everything I wanted to cover on my notes, but it's not, I don't have screenshots. You're probably going to watch this video. I will post a page for the video. I'm going to create a playlist just for this class. I have a 2040 class as well. Some of this stuff's going to overlap. Some of it's going to be different. You're welcome to watch those. I don't care. 2040 is obviously going to be harder than this, but I will have this playlist and I will post this. Okay? Yes?
Should we save this page?
If you want to save this for practice, let me just point out one other thing. Let me erase this for a minute. Okay? I'm going to do this and then we're going to do our quiz. Okay? Now, all this looks correct, right? Here's something that could happen. You're going to click on Insert. You're going to click on Spiderweb. You're going to go to More Charts. You're going to go to Stock. You're going to click this, and it's not going to let you press the OK button. Why not? Because those dates are not dates that says State Farm and Allstate. Okay? They have to be dates. Any date, it doesn't matter. Now, if I go January 1st and if I go January 10th, okay, when I do this, it's going to put a big gap in there. Insert, Spiderweb, More Charts, Stock Market, pick it. It works, but see how far apart they are? So if you're doing this, pick consecutive days like January 2nd. Now it's going to be okay. Now, once you've got your chart drawn, now you can change this to anything you want. State, Farm, and Allstate. And the other thing that I just want to point out, let's say that I forgot to change my thing here. I'm going to insert my median now. Insert, click on this here, recently used, and I'm going to draw this at 1800. And then I'm going to go, oh, I forgot to erase that. Watch what happens. Look at my line, okay? Watch this. When I delete this, that line is now in the wrong place. Oh, I need to move it, so I'll just move it down here. Oh, I forgot to add my axis titles. Axis titles, now look where the line is. So draw everything you can last. Otherwise, you're going to keep moving this all over the place. Does that make sense? Okay. And change your scale again, which I forgot to do. Format axis, change my scale. I'm going to change this to $20,000 so that I can add on my outliers here. Insert, shapes, circle, draw this here, draw another circle here, and another circle here, and another circle here. No, that's in the wrong place. This one goes here. Okay? Aren't you glad I got you in here today? And look, nobody's even kicking us out. Or maybe they are. There's somebody there. Do you have a class? Okay, come on in. We're done. So go ahead and close. We'll save this if you want. It's up to you. Okay, we went a little longer because we got lucky. I'm going to go ahead and stop this.